Hello and welcome to today's episode of Making Stuff Up. I'm Wendy Watkins, the Joy Coach, and I am so thrilled that you have joined us for today's episode of Making Stuff Up. We are going to be with McKenzie Wren today. She is joining us as our guest. McKenzie is a dear friend, and I love her commitment to community. I love her commitment to her family. She is the founder and chief engagement officer. That's a mouthful at Wren Consulting. She is an artist, and bottom line, McKenzie is someone that steps into what is important to her and makes a difference in the world. She is someone who helps people have conversations about things that matter. And that's why I'm so excited to have her join us today for Making Stuff Up, because we together are going to create a lemon lavender syrup that can be used in a multitude of ways. And you're also going to be learning how to use your MSU. Yes, how you make stuff up that either supports you in creating a delicious life or not. So please join me in welcoming McKenzie Wren to our program. Hello, McKenzie.
Oh, hey.
Did we catch you in the middle of something?
I was spraying my orchid.
What a beautiful orchid that is.
Isn't it gorgeous? I know, it's blooming like crazy. I'm so happy.
You must really have a green thumb. Mine orchid doesn't look like that. I will tell you that.
This one is blessed by my mom. It was my mom's orchid.
Oh, so it has the magic touch for sure.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
Well, friend, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining today.
So fun to be here.
Yeah. Well, let's start off with, as people that have watched the show before, and some people haven't, of course, is that when you watch Making Stuff Up, everybody walks away with a little something. And your little something today is your MSU. You can actually put, I'll give you permission, McKenzie does as well, a little comma behind your name and write MSU. And then when people ask you what that is, you could tell them, well, I make stuff up, right? Because we all make stuff up. So you have an MSU, you have an MSU, you have an MSU, and now McKenzie, I am excited to give you your MSU.
Yay!
Awesome.
Hey, you know what they say about lemons? When life gives you lemons, what do you do with it? You make lavender lemon syrup.
Yum, 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 yum. I like that. That's the adult version there, right? Well, I love it. McKenzie's jumping in right away with using your MSU, right? Because that's a classic one right there, I would say.
Right. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? So there's and there's a lot of ways that we can think about the metaphor of a lemon, and how are we sour, or, you know, how do we use it to spice things up, or what do we do to transform it? And why has the lemon got such a negative view anyway, right? When life gives you lemons.
Right. I like a lemon when someone would give me a lemon. They're beautiful. They're yellow. I like that color. Yes, but that is a way that we, you know, between metaphors, however we want to do it, you can use your MSU in a variety of ways when you are looking to create a delicious life. Now, we're going to use it to create this delicious lemon lavender syrup today, and McKenzie's already using the zester. Don't you love that word, McKenzie?
I do, like zest, because, you know, in creating a delicious life, what do we need? We need zest.
Zest. We do. We need a lot of zest.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, before I go into talking to McKenzie, the recipe that we're using for this is in the program, in the program notes, but we're just taking a couple lemons. We're making a zest. We're going to put it in some boiling sugar water with some lavender and rosemary. And we're going to let that boil for a little bit and then strain it. And we're going to have a syrup that we could use. So
I'm hoping to try it out in different cocktails, or maybe with soda water and with an additional fresh piece of lavender. I've never made this before, so I'm excited to try it.
me too, me too. And I love that, trying something new, right? It's all
Yeah.
what it's all about. So we're zesting while we're chatting here, if you're wondering why our arms are moving so frantically below the screen.
And you know, Wendy, I was thinking already about making shit up or making stuff up, which is the recipe calls for 2 cups of syrup. I mean,
Yes.
2 cups of sugar. I'm not going to use 2 cups because that feels like a lot of sugar to me. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to 1 cup. And I think that that's an important thing, like kind of goes back to boundaries and knowing yourself and knowing like how much is going to be trying things out to see if it's going to be sweet enough or too sweet. But I think 2 cups of sugar would be too sweet.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I'm sure there are some of you out there that are going, oh, heck yeah, I want 2 cups of sugar.
Make it 3.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's a good way that we, personalize it.
Yeah.
Personalize it like we personalize our life. I forgot to mention in the intro that making stuff up is that intersection of creativity and mindset, right? So that we can create a delicious life, because we're all conscious creators of our lives. And how we see things and what we make up around these situations, people, places, things, determine the quality of our lives. So McKenzie, how do you, like, what is MSU for you?
Yeah. And so I remember the first time I heard you use it, and what I interpreted it is as be careful of what you make up, right? Like know what you are making up, right? What is that narrative that is not serving you in your head? And I hadn't thought about that. So I've used MSU ever since you first told me about that. And for me, it's like, what is it that I am making up that's not serving me, right? And so, and I do a lot of getting people to talk about really important stuff. I get people talking about race and about gender and about, politics some. And what I realize is I need to not make stuff up about other people's experiences. And my work is to help people not make stuff up so that they can actually be in relationship with the person in front of them without a whole boatload of baggage and assumptions. And it can be hard because we got a lot of programming to undo. Right. So that's really the biggest way that I use my MSU these days is being aware of what I might be making up about a person based on how I perceive them in the world.
Oh my goodness. I do not think you're alone in that, my dear, at all. I know that even someone like myself, that I feel like I'm very open-minded. I don't judge except when I do. Right. And there are times that all of a sudden I'm finding myself and I'm thinking about what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh, wow, Wendy, look at what you are making up right now. Because unless you know for a fact, you have no idea what's going on with that other person.
Yeah. It's assuming goodwill, assuming goodness, clarifying, trying to find out what's going on, like checking in, what am I playing into? And I know for me about making stuff up for me is one of the first places as I go is that it's about me. Right. It's something like there's something wrong with me that they're not responding to me. And so thus I'm going to judge them. Right. And so that's part of I'm not doing that anymore. Like I've been working really hard to not make that up because that does not serve me. Right. So it's a twofold thing about what are we making up about ourselves in relationship and what are we making up about the other person? Why are they acting that way? It must be because of something that I did. Right.
Yes.
Not always.
And majority of time, it's not, I would
That's
say.
Right.
Majority of time. This reminds me of the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, and don't make assumptions. That's the thing that always gets us into trouble.
Yeah.
I tell you what I know for sure right now, girl. This lemon smells incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my gosh. This is like 2 lemons. And it's just so, I can't wait to get it in the water because then the whole house is going to smell like lemon lavender or lemon rosemary because I'm tweaking the recipe.
What I've always been confused about with zesters is how not to hurt yourself when you use them and how to get the lemon part easily. I'm sure that somebody's got a DIY hack about how do I get that lemon off of the zester.
Well, I use this kind. I use a microplane and that helps. because I can just take my finger on the other side and scrape it up, because you
Yeah.
can't start to get on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does smell delicious. So,
I'm sorry you got a boo-boo.
oh, it's fine.
All right, good, good. So, I
You
mean,
know, one of the other things that I had been making up is in so much of my life, I had been creating spaces for other people to do stuff, and I hadn't been giving myself space to do the things, right? So in particular, around art. And so I was making up that I was not an artist, and I was not a good artist, all the things that all the talk that went on. And I recognized, gosh, I sure am making up a lot of stories about that, and I'm not making space for myself. So the thing that I've been focusing on a lot is making space for creativity, which is also like part of why I'm here today with you. But just in the rest of my life as well, is making space for my own artistic expression.
yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. What do you think? What were you, because I don't think this is unusual. I don't want to take away from your unique experience, but I think this is a common thing for people, and especially women. So what was it that you were making up before that stopped you from taking the time, and what was the shift, if you don't mind me
Yeah. I mean, you think about all the messages that children receive, right? So somewhere along the way as a child, I received the message that I wasn't good enough. I was competent, I was capable, I had, some talent in these things, but I wasn't the best, right? I wasn't the first violin. I wasn't the one who got picked for the art show. And so then, you're just like, oh, okay, I'm just not as good at those things, right? And so thus, instead of thinking, well, creativity is our birthright and that everybody is creative and that everybody has access to it, it became like, well, it's not something you can do in the world because you're not like the best. And that's a terrible message. It's a terrible message. And even just the other day, I was teaching a workshop, because now I teach art. I teach, I create spaces for people to make art still. And I was in this workshop, and the mother told the son, like, oh yeah, you didn't get the creativity gene. And I was like, and so I stopped, and I was like, in this classroom, we're having an experience together, and we're making things together. And that is the main point, is to be together and to have the experience of playing together and not worry about who's judging the outcome. And that was a huge shift for me, because I had to get to that place in my own self. And I didn't used to call myself an artist, right? But I do call myself an artist now.
Yes.
So big shift.
Yes, yes, yes. That's incredible. So I hear, so many things there: the power of the words and the power of how we receive words.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just have to be Teflon. Sometimes we have to just let other people's opinions not stick to us. As children, we don't know that.
That's right.
But as parents, for the parents listening, I'm not a parent, so it's easy for me to say blah, blah, blah. However, as someone that is around children often, the power of words is so important.
So important. And giving children the space, and all people, but give children in particular, to explore themselves, right? Because as you just said, that those words matter. And when parents are deciding what colors their children can or cannot use, right? I have been in workshops, or even painting faces, when a little boy will get a message that he shouldn't have something that's pink or purple, right? Because it's right.
Yeah. Yes.
And so those are powerful messages too. Like, how do we limit that child's creativity by telling him that he can't use pink and purple?
Yeah.
Right?
And then to flip it to the present, right, where we started with this conversation, it's the way we talk to ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Right. That squelch our own creativity. Mine was always about perfection. That Virgo in me, and creativity was about perfection. And now I have been able to shift to process, and not worrying about the end result, and truly enjoying the journey, which is the whole concept of what we're talking about here. So, every thought we're thinking, every thought you're thinking, and McKenzie, you're thinking, I'm thinking, it's all made up.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that self-talk.
Yeah, it matters.
well, okay, but before we go, let's get everything in the water. So
Yeah,
we
I
can
did.
get
And
it
oh my gosh,
going.
does it smell incredible?
You're in the water already?
Yeah, because I realized that it says remove from heat. And so I had not done that.
So you put it in, okay, so that's a good point. You put it in the boiling, the
Yeah,
sugar, and then
yeah.
your herbs, and you remove it from.
Swirl it. Yeah. Mm. Boy, I bet you the addition of rosemary would be lovely. I would run out and get some from my garden, but that's okay.
Yeah, I had all intentions of going to the market and didn't get to, so that's why I'm using the rosemary from the
I
garden.
love it. You know, as I'm making this, Wendy, it occurs to me that I actually want to keep it on the heat because I think I want to reduce the water a little bit so that it gets a little bit thicker, thicker and syrupier. Because if you take it off the heat before it has a chance to distill down a little bit, it's basically just sugar water as opposed to actually a syrup. So I'm going to leave it on there so that it can evaporate a little bit and get thicker.
I wonder if the addition of extra sugar will make it more syrupy.
Oh, that's a good question. And I think that tasting it for sugar would be a good thing to do right now. Like, how is the sugar content? Let's find out.
Oh, mine is way good. Woo!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. Yeah, I definitely do not want more sugar.
Oh, definitely, me neither. But it is going to be a beautiful syrup for a martini, I think. Or some soda water, as you said. All right, so we've got everything in the water. And like I said, the recipe is on the show notes. So you'll find them there when you want to make this. So McKenzie.
Yeah.
What do you do when you notice that you have gone down the wrong lane, right? Because sometimes we can catch ourselves fast. How have you learned to recover faster when the MSU goes awry?
Yeah. So first is noticing, right? Like, wow, what's happening in my brain? Just noticing. And then I extend compassion to myself, right? It's like, oh, McKenzie, what are you doing right now? Right. And so let me send a little love to that so that I can stop, kind of being so triggered to be able to stop and ask myself what's going on.
Yes.
And it's about lengthening that time between noticing and reacting. So really the work is almost in the pre part, right? So like if I'm noticing something, like the idea is to not even get to that place where I have to notice it, but that's not humanly possible. So when I notice that I'm doing this, then it's that stopping. Sometimes I'll become aware and I'll ask myself, okay, so where am I in space? Like, what are my hands doing? What are my feet doing? Let me just take my full stop with a deep breath. And then extending some compassion, like, okay, something's going on. Let me see what's happening here. And then I would begin to ask myself that question. Yeah. And I then, because you and I share this, Wendy, the gratitude practice, right? Really foundational to, it's one of the reasons why we're such good buddies is because of that shared gratitude practice. But that just appreciation for the ability to stop and let me just also appreciate this other person for just being a human being alive on the planet, and then let me see what's going on. What might I be making up about them or about myself? So it's really about slowing. In fact, you know how we have slow food and we have, right? So I believe in slowing everything down, right? Yes. So slow conversation, slow down to notice what is happening in my body, right? Take that deep breath. And I'm a pretty hyper person. So and so
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So that actually reminding myself to take that deep breath is huge. And oftentimes in a situation, if I can slow myself down, the other person will too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we went shopping together when I got these bracelets that are my theme this year, which is listen, breathe, love. It's exactly what you're talking about. I love it. Listen, take a breath, and really hear or feel what has been said, and then come back with love.
Yeah.
And that's the practice. And it's so much easier to do that when you're making something up, especially about another person, that is good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is good.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really what I'm walking away with today, is really remembering using the MSU when we come in contact with other human beings just like us.
Yeah. Yeah. Or very, very different from us. And that's okay too, because the part that's just like us is that they are humans, right?
Yeah.
Having an experience. And that's the part that's just like us. And everything else may be so different that it seems like there's an uncrossable divide. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, they are also human beings on the planet. And that alone is a reason to just stop and take that breath and explore that story. Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that I got onto the joy factor back, you know, it's been 8 years ago now since the book came out, was because I have this big vision of letting people merge into traffic. Because I know when people are feeling good, they let people merge. And one of the things that I have to do on the road is use my MSU all the time, because otherwise I will never let people merge, right? Because I'm making up not good things,
Right.
but I try and make up better things
Yeah.
that allow
That's
me to feel good. And imagine a world that we all merged. How cool that would be.
how cool would that be? Yeah. And what does that also say? Remember, I was talking about the slow thing. Like, what does it say about that 5 seconds that you feel is so important that you need to like blast past somebody as opposed to making space? How can we all make space for each other?
Yes.
I think that's a really big part of it. I've always loved that merge analogy. It's so great.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, not just selfishly, yeah, I want them to let me merge, but I want everybody to merge. It would just be such a beautiful world.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how's your syrup looking, girl?
It's good. I'm adding a little bit more lemon zest because I have a only a lemon and a half, so I'm getting as much zest as I possibly can off of this lemon for extra brightness.
Yes,
But
nice.
it tastes amazing.
Well, mine is good too. And I'm gonna follow, let it simmer a little bit. And I promise everyone, I'll show you and tell you the finished product. I was gonna pour mine in my fun little honey jar.
Yeah.
And be ready for the weekend festivities. So we'll let you know for sure. So McKenzie, one last thing before we go. So now that we've had this conversation today, how will you use, is there an opportunity for you to use your MSU today for the betterment of yourself and others?
Yeah, for today, yes, because I have a client meeting and I, in my mind, they're a little bit of a difficult client. So I'm going to extend my MSU to reframe that.
So
I'm going to go into that meeting with a really different place in my heart of knowing that I'm in service to the reason that they hired me, and I'm going to be open to hearing who and what they need so that I can best serve them.
beautiful. It
Yeah.
feels different, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because if I'm busy like, then it's all tense, right? Everything's tense. And so
Yes.
that part of that delicious life is that, ooh, let me just like, again, what's happening in my body? Like if I'm all frenetic and tense around this meeting, whew, let me just shake it out.
Exactly. Shake it
Yeah.
out. Awesome. Awesome. Well, everyone that's joined us, I ask you that as well. How will you use your MSU today to serve you in the betterment of yourself and the world? And what McKenzie said was beautiful, you know, of how you can prepave a meeting, a gathering, a conversation in your favor. And you have an MSU now, so go ahead and make up the good stuff. Remember, we come on weekly. If you've not subscribed to the show, then please do that and share it with some friends that would benefit from learning how to use an MSU. Thank you so much for your time. McKenzie, thank you, friend. Mwah.
So fun. Thanks so much for having me on. It's so fun to make stuff up with you.
Yeah, we'll do it again, I'm sure. So create a delicious day, everyone. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.